Hello, my name is Anthony Ralston. I am part of the NSTS security metrics team, and I am one of the physical penetration testers. I do other penetration testing, but physical penetration testing is one of my passions and what I enjoy doing. I'm creating this video basically to just inform you about this offering and inform you about why physical penetration testing. Why is it important? First off, let me say that uh, physical penetration testing seems to be something that is overlooked in most organizations. They don't realize how easy it is to gain access to an area that's very sensitive. And once we do gain access, planning a box, and getting a reverse connection out of their environment becomes trivial. So I'm going to dig into this a little bit more and hopefully give you some good information about why physical penetration testing and why physical security is an important part of information security. All right, good day. We're going to talk about physical infiltration and what to look for. So most companies tend to overlook physical infiltration or physical security, and they do not see why it's important to information security. Um, Today I'm going to try to dispel a lot of that and show you where the alligators are that could jump out and bite you. All right, so let's begin. Okay, who am I? I'm Anthony Ralston. I'm a senior security engineer slash senior penetration tester at NSTS. I'm a husband, I'm a dad, I'm a physical penetration guy. And what that really means is I have a passion for physical security, and I believe that it is a very important component of your information security and your IT security. I believe it's just as important as a firewall and everything else. So, for instance, if I'm able to walk into your organization and plug in a device to your network and get a reverse shell back to my command and control server, I now have a beachhead in your environment, and I can move laterally throughout your environment and own you. And your firewall pretty much is just a fancy tool. So I do have some credentials to, give me a little bit of ability to talk in this area. I'm a Cisco guy. I'm also have a master's in information security, and I just have a lot of other certifications. All right, so moving on. Let's play a game. The game is pick the bad guy. Yeah, it's a funny game, right? So I'm pretty sure that majority of you look at this photo and look at these people and think, oh, it's definitely that guy on the right that's the bad guy. I mean, look at him. He looks nefarious. He's the typical hacker that's trying to get your information. The guy in the hoodie with his face blacked out. But is that really realistic in a physical engagement or in an engagement where someone's trying to walk into your organization? Nah, he's probably not going to come in a ski mask. He's probably not going to come in a hoodie. He's probably going to come more like the guy on your left here. Look with a nice smile. Nice to meet you. How you doing? My name's Anthony, by the way. Yeah, okay. And point me in the right direction to where your sensitive information is, and it's going to be very successful. Now, that's not to say that the guy on the right is a good guy, but I'm just saying that you got to look. It's usually the alligators you don't see that you got to worry about. And here you go. This alligator is very, very large and menacing, obviously. Um, and you see those guys in the background taking pictures of him. They're not at risk really of getting bit. They see the alligator, and it would have to move pretty quick in the other direction to actually bite him. But if another alligator, even a smaller alligator, came up right next to them and they didn't see him, now the chances of getting bit just went up tremendously. And that's the whole point of this talk, is to show you the techniques and the procedures of what I go through when I break into an organization, and just things to look at and to watch out for. How do I infiltrate an organization? Um, so first, a lot of it is remote work. A lot of it is looking at what's on the internet. I hope you realize that the majority of people, what they tend to do is they put a lot of stuff on Facebook, intentionally or unintentionally. Say Susie in the office is having a birthday. People take pictures of the cake, of the celebration, right at every cubicle. And at that cubicle, you have phones, you have computers that usually are unlocked and might have emails up or what have you. In addition, they'll have badges in the picture. They'll have just you name it. They'll have all sorts of stuff. And it just gives us all this data that we can work with. With the badges, we can create a fake badge or something that's similar that looks alike. And at that point, it's usually passable. And then LinkedIn and job postings, those are also just great wells of information. For instance, on a LinkedIn account, a lot of your engineers, they'll post, I work on Cisco. I work on ASA firewalls, or I work on Palo Alto firewalls. I work on IPSs, IDSs, and then they'll be very descriptive of what they do day to day. Or they said, "Oh, we just had an implementation of a DLP solution." It's like, "Oh, well, thank you. Now I know that you have data loss prevention in your environment." And so there's just a whole wealth of information that we can gather there. That and say Google or Earth, where we can actually see the physical layout of the environment. And then also, say your facility is a historical site. At that point, now there's lots of documentations as far as modifications, adds, changes to the infrastructure or to the building itself. It all has to be documented, and that's usually public knowledge. And what I can't get off of remote discovery, I usually can get off of the next two items, which is one is aerial discovery. Using a drone to survey the area and to look for weaknesses in the perimeter. One great anecdote for that was I actually was able to get roof access into a facility through seeing someone modifying or fixing or editing, maintaining a AC unit on a roof. I saw them open a hatch, go down, come up, and I assumed to myself, I said, there's no way they locked that hatch after they're done, because people don't lock things, and through more reconnaissance, I also noticed that there was a fire escape to the roof that just had a simple padlock on it, which is pretty easy to break into. So I was able to use that information to gain access to the facility. Like what's that movie? Not James Bond, but the one with Mission Impossible. Yeah, there it is. Where he slides down on the cables. However, I didn't slide down on cables. I just jumped down a ladder. But it was still pretty cool, saying that I was able to gain access to a facility through the roof. But it's all out there, right? And then also on-site discovery. So walking around, talking to people, information on the ground trumps all other information. And so now that I gather all this information, I put it together and I create a cover. I'll be, whoever. And all I have to know is, the leadership structure, what you guys do, what you guys wear, and what kind of culture you are in. And if I have that basic information, I can usually talk my way through most issues and most things that come up. And it's not that hard at that point. People tend to fill in the blanks. In fact, a funny story, I was in this organization breaking in, and I had a fake badge. The fake badge wasn't quite right, and so I went up to the front desk and I presented it to the person, and the person proceeded to ask me, "Oh, where'd you get this badge? It doesn't seem like the one that we produce." And I said, "Well, it's the one they gave me." And she proceeded to say, "Well, I'm the only one in the organization that creates badges, so." And at that point, a couple things go through your head. One, man, I'm caught. I'm not getting into this place. And two is, well, I made it this far. Might as well push the envelope as far as I can go. So I started talking to her, and she asked, "Are you sure you're an employee, a direct employee for this company? And I said, well, I am a 12-month contract to hire. And so now I gave her an excuse. And she filled in the blanks for herself, saying, oh, I got it. So they gave you the badge. And I said, yep, that's it. They're right there. Yeah, they gave me the badge. And then she proceeded to ask me, well, do you know where you're going? I said, of course I do. And she let me in. So knowing some of the, just putting yourself into a basic cover that makes you look generally like the individuals that work there, it goes a very long way. All right, so now the fun part, the tools I use. I use a whole lot of tools, and now I'm going to show you a bunch of those tools. So uh, let's get to it. All right. So one of the most basic tools I have in my toolbox is social engineering, tailgating, fake documentation, fake badges, just social engineered entrance into a facility or deeper access to that facility. First note is just because you're caught doesn't mean you're caught. What that means is if I can talk my way out of a sticky situation, it usually works. Like I said before, people usually fill in the blanks, and people are usually good-hearted, and they want to be nice. They want to be helpful. They want to be generous. And so if I give them an opportunity to be helpful or generous or something like that, they tend to take it. So first thing on here is tailgating. Say I'm sitting there outside a facility, I'm acting like I'm on my phone, and I look like I belong there. I have a badge, I look like I'm working, or I have something in my hands. People tend to open the door, or don't think anything of it if I come in after them. And say if they do catch me, I'll have like fake documentation saying I'm so and so, and I'm directed to be here by so and so, and then I'll have a number on it, and people will usually trust the documentation if it looks legitimate. And obviously the fake badge, like I talked earlier, through whatever reconnaissance I'm doing, if I can find a way to see what their badge generally looks like, it usually passes. And most training that people get is look to see if they have a badge. But they don't usually show them what to look for on the badge or how to validate if the badge is real. Which defeats the purpose of looking at a badge, in my opinion. And then there's just all these other ways of social engineering entrance or access, from phishing, vishing, smishing, and whatever other ishings out there. And it's becomes very, very easy to win, access, win again, and then win some more. All right. All right, I know you guys are excited to look at some of the tools I use. The first tool we're going to look at is called the DDT, or the double door tool. I know it looks kind of like one of those hangman games you used to play when you were a kid. However, what this item does is actually kind of interesting. It's pretty easy to use, but it's pretty successful at the same time. So obviously, as the name implies, if there's a door that is a double door, two doors together, that does not have a center bar, and has crash bars for egress, I can stick this tool right square into the center of the doors, pull it sideways, and pull out the crash bar. It's very easy and quick. It's very quick. So let's check out how this works, and next is going to be an example of this in live action. All right, so that was pretty quick, right? I mean, that was just a few seconds, and we're in. So the DDT is a very successful tool, and it's in the right spots. It works really well. The next tool is more of a process. It's the process of shimming. So shimming is when I take a piece of plastic and am able to trip a door. Now, what I tend to like to do with this is on crash bars again, but if they're single doors or if there's a door jamb there. So what I do is I take a thick piece of plastic, about like this, and I cut this angle out of it, and I have a second thinner piece of plastic. So what I do is I slide this thin plastic in first, and then I slide the thicker one, work it up to where the latch is, and then I pull it out and open the door. It's pretty simple, but also very effective on most crash bars. All right, so let's look at how this looks in real life. Open the door. Slide it up to the latch, thicker shim. Slide it through. Slide up to where the latch is. Pull it out. All right, so that's shimming. It does take a little bit of practice to get it right, and it's a little bit of a skill, but it's not that difficult once you figure it out. So the next method is when a door is not fitted right. And what I mean by that is more that the latch isn't properly fitted with the striker plate. What happens with that is that there's the dead man plunger is what I like to call it. It's that little piece of metal that's on top of the latch, or if you have like a cross latch like that, it's the little nub that's below it. So if that's not pushed in, the latch is still free moving, and that's just the function of the latch, so it can actually close the door. You know, otherwise it would get stuck when you try to open or close the door. So what I use with that is either a piece of metal or the scraper tool here. This is one of my favorite tools because it was very cheap. I got it at Walmart, and if the fitting isn't correct, it's very easy to just force that latch open. It's very similar to the credit card trick that people used to do back in the day. You can still do it in some places, but I mean, I've done this with all sorts of objects. And if you look at the door, if the latch isn't fitted right, it's easy entry. And this is actually really common among badge doors where the striker plate releases when someone badges in. So let's take a look at what this looks like. Let's do it tight. Not working very well. There. All right, so the last tool I'm going to talk about today is called the under the door tool. I know these tools, the names of these tools are quite creative, but it is what it is, right? So this tool, I've actually made them before, and it's pretty cheap to make, but you can buy them online for like $20 or so. So I just go and buy them online now. But so a lot of doors, what happens is one side, they're levers, right? So one side is locked while the other side has egress out. So only one side works. With this tool, what we do is we slide it under the door, as the name implies, bring it up to where the lever is, and pull down on the cable while pulling back on the handle back here, and it opens the door. It's pretty simple. This one takes a little bit more finesse, and depending on the door, you might need a camera underneath, like a sneak camera or something, to see what you're doing. But other than that, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. Now, depending on what kind of handle it is, some handles are easier. Obviously, the ones that have the hook back like this is a little bit easier because there's something to hold on to. But you know, it still works other ways, but it just takes a little bit more time and patience, which you don't always have. So check it out. These type are much more difficult. All right, guys, that's all the tools I'm going to look at today. I do have a lot more tools in my toolbox. However, I think that 20 minutes is probably long enough. There are definitely ways of cloning badges with a badge cloner, bypassing magnet locks through the PIR, which is passive infrared, so the egress sensors. there's all sorts of other ways of getting in. And also, once you're in, there's ways of bypassing security controls internally. But if we went through all that today, I think the video would be way too long. So I'm going to stop it here. But I really appreciate your time, and I hope you got something out of this. All right, so I'll talk to you all later. Bye.